Warren Buffett is worth $130 billion US dollars. He could buy any house on earth today, a palace in France, a beachfront mansion in Malibu, a private island in the Caribbean. He could buy them all and still have $129 billion left over. And yet, every single morning Warren Buffett wakes up in the same modest house in Omaha, Nebraska that he bought in 1958 for $31,500. And he has never once considered leaving. While Elon Musk builds compounds worth hundreds of millions, while Jeff Bezos sails on a $500 million suit, while Mark Zuckerberg buys entire Hawaiian Islands, Warren Buffett, the second richest American in history, lives in a 5-bedroom house on a quiet street in Omaha, Nebraska. A house worth approximately $1.4 million today, which in relative terms, on a $130 billion net worth, is like an ordinary American living in a garden shed. But here is what most Americans completely miss about this story. Warren Buffett does not live in that house because he cannot afford better. He lives there because he understands something about money that most wealthy Americans never figure out. And in this video, I am going to show you the 5 life-changing lessons hidden inside that $31,500 house. Lessons that every ordinary American can use to build real lasting wealth. Stay until lesson number 3, because that one reveals the real reason Warren Buffett stays in that house. And it has nothing to do with being cheap. It has everything to do with the philosophy of money and life that took him 65 years to perfect, and that every American can understand in the next 8 minutes. Let's get into it. 5 life lessons from the most famous house in American financial history. Let me take you back to Omaha, Nebraska in 1958. Warren Buffett is 27 years old. He has already been investing seriously for several years, and he is doing very well. His investment partnership is growing steadily. He has enough money to buy a comfortable house, and he finds exactly what he is looking for. A 5-bedroom house on Farnham Street in Omaha. He pays $31,500 US dollars, moves in with his family, and never leaves. Warren Buffett has called that house, outside of his 2 marriages, the 3rd best investment he ever made. Not because the house itself made him rich, but because buying a modest house instead of an expensive one freed up every other dollar he had to invest. Every dollar not spent on a bigger mortgage was a dollar that went into the stock market. And in Warren Buffett's hands, those dollars compounded into billions. Today, that same house is worth approximately $1.4 million US dollars, which sounds like a lot, until you realize that Warren Buffett's net worth has grown to $130 billion in the same time period. His house is worth 1,000% of his total wealth. For context, if an average American earning $60,000 a year had the same ratio, their house would be worth about 60 cents. That is how relatively modest Warren Buffett's home is compared to his fortune. And the house has not changed much since 1958. It is comfortable. It has everything a family needs. Warren Buffett has an office with bookshelves, a kitchen, a garage, a quiet neighborhood. But there is no swimming pool, no home theater, no staff of servants walking the hallways. His neighbors are ordinary Americans, teachers, doctors, small business owners, and Warren Buffett, the second richest human in American history, lives among them as if he is one of them, because in his mind, he is. Warren Buffett drives himself to work every morning. He stops at McDonald's for breakfast, spending between $2.61 and $3.17 US dollars, depending on how the market opened that morning. He has said in interviews that when the market is down, he gets the cheaper meal. He arrives at his simple office at Berkshire Hathaway, sits down at his desk, and spends the day reading and thinking. The same routine every single day for 65 years. And that consistency, that radical simplicity, is at the heart of everything he has built. Lesson number 1. Avoid lifestyle inflation at all costs. Lifestyle inflation is what happens when your income goes up and your spending goes up even faster. Most Americans fall into this trap automatically. Get a raise, buy a nicer car, get a promotion, move to a bigger apartment, get a bonus book, a more expensive vacation, Each upgrade feels small and reasonable in the moment. But over time, lifestyle inflation quietly destroys the wealth of millions of Americans who could have been financially free. Warren Buffett has watched this happen to some of the highest earning Americans in history. Athletes who earned hundreds of millions and died broke. Entertainers who made fortunes and lost everything. Business executives who earned millions per year and retired with nothing. In every case, the story is the same. Income went up, lifestyle went up even faster, and the gap that should have become wealth became debt instead. Buffett chose a different path. And he chose it consciously. At age 27, think about what the alternative would have cost him. If Warren Buffett had bought a $5 million house instead of a $500,000 house, the difference is $4.5 million US dollars. Invested in the S&P 500 at 8%. Average return for 30 years. That $4.5 million becomes $45 million. Just from one housing decision, every major spending decision has this same hidden calculation. Every dollar you do not spend on lifestyle is a dollar that can compound into many more dollars over time. Warren Buffett has a very clear view on houses that most Americans find controversial. He believes that most Americans treat their home as their biggest investment, when, in reality, a home is primarily an expense. It costs money to maintain, it costs money to insure, it costs money in property taxes every year. And unlike a stock or a dividend-paying company, your house does not generate income while you sleep. The money tied up in an expensive house is money that cannot compound and grow for you. The lesson for every American is not to avoid buying a home. It is to buy the home you need, not the home that impresses your neighbors. Buy modest, live comfortably, and invest the difference aggressively. Warren Buffett has lived in the same house for 65 years, not because he could not afford better, but because his current house gives him everything he actually needs. And every dollar not spent upgrading that house has compounded into a piece of his $130 billion fortune. Lesson number 2. Understand opportunity cost. This is the concept that Warren Buffett uses to evaluate every single financial decision he makes. Opportunity cost is the hidden price of every choice you make. When you choose to spend money on something, you are also choosing not to invest that money. And, for Warren Buffett, every dollar spent on something unnecessary is not just $1 lost. It is all of the future wealth the dollar could have created, lost forever. Warren Buffett has talked about this concept many times in his letters to shareholders. He thinks about every purchase in terms of what that money could become if invested instead. When he was young and building his fortune, he would calculate the future value of every dollar he considered spending. A $10 lunch in 1960 was not just $10 to boot. It was the $100 or $1,000 that $10 could become over the next 30 years if invested wisely. This mindset, applied consistently, changes every financial decision you make. Let me show you what opportunity cost looks like in real US dollars for ordinary Americans. The average American spends approximately $150,000 US dollars on a new luxury car over their lifetime. If that same $150,000 was invested in an S&P 500 index fund at 8%, average return for 20 years, it becomes approximately $700,000. 700,000 US dollars lost because of car choices. That is the hidden cost of luxury that most Americans never see. Warren Buffett eats at McDonald's almost every single morning, not because he cannot afford a 5-star restaurant, but because a simple breakfast at McDonald's serves the same purpose as an expensive one. It fuels his body for the morning. And the difference in costs, multiplied by thousands of mornings, represents significant capital that instead went into compounding investments. Warren Buffett sees money that other Americans simply cannot see, because he has trained himself to think in terms of future value, not present comfort. The most powerful shift every American can make is to start seeing their spending through the lens of opportunity cost. Before any major purchase, ask yourself one question. What could this money become in 20 years if I invested it instead? A $50,000 car purchase today, invested at 8% for 20 years, becomes $233,000. A $500 monthly restaurant habit, invested for 20 years, becomes $294,000. When you start seeing these numbers clearly, your relationship with money changes completely, just as it changed for Warren Buffett at age 20. Lesson number 3. And this is the one I promised you at the beginning. Warren Buffett does not stay in that house because he is cheap. He stays because that house represents something money cannot buy. Freedom. Warren Buffett has said in multiple interviews that he tap dances to work every single morning. He wakes up excited. He does exactly what he loves: reading, thinking, investing, every single day. He answers to nobody. He works with people he likes. He has complete freedom over every hour of his life, and that freedom, he says, is the real measure of wealth. Warren Buffett once said, "I can buy anything I want, but I cannot buy time. I can buy any house on earth, but I cannot buy back the years I would have wasted trying to maintain it, impress people with it, or worry about it." The house he lives in gives him everything he needs, and nothing that creates stress, obligation, or distraction. That is the true purpose of money, according to Warren Buffett. Not to signal success to others, but to create freedom for yourself. Lesson number 4. Integrity and simplicity build more trust than any amount of luxury. Warren Buffett is trusted with billions of US dollars from investors all over the world, including some of the wealthiest Americans in history. And a significant part of why they trust him is because of his lifestyle. His simplicity signals that he is not doing this for personal enrichment. He is not building a lavish empire for himself. He genuinely believes in what he does, and his simple Omaha house proves it every single day. In the world of American finance, where Wall Street executives spend millions on penthouses and private jets, Warren Buffett's modest lifestyle is genuinely radical, and it has made him the most trusted investor in American history. People give him their money because they believe he will treat it with the same careful respect he treats his own. And they know he treats his own money carefully because he still lives in a $31,500 house. Integrity is not just a moral virtue. For Warren Buffett, it has been one of his most powerful business assets. Lesson number 5. Your habits, not your income, determine your wealth. Warren Buffett did not become the world's greatest investor because of one brilliant decision. He became the world's greatest investor because of thousands of small, disciplined decisions made consistently over 85 years. Reading every day, investing every year, living below his means every month, reinvesting dividends every quarter. These are not glamorous habits. They are not exciting, but applied consistently over decades, they build fortunes that no lottery ticket could ever match. Now let's bring all 5 lessons home for every American watching this. You do not need to live in a $31,500 house. You do not need to eat McDonald's every morning. But you do need to make a conscious decision about how much of your income goes toward lifestyle and how much goes toward building wealth. Warren Buffett's house is a physical symbol of that decision, made at age 27 and never reversed. Here is a practical rule that every American can apply starting today. Keep your total housing costs, mortgage or rent, plus utilities, plus maintenance, at or below 25% of your monthly take-home pay. Not 35%, not 40%, 25%. The remaining 75% gives you room to invest aggressively, build an emergency fund, and live a comfortable but not extravagant life. This single rule applied consistently will put you on a completely different financial trajectory than most Americans. Let me show you what this looks like in real US dollars. If following the 25% housing rule saves you just $500 per month compared to what you would otherwise spend, and you invest that $500 every month in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund at 8% average return, over 30 years, that becomes $680,000 US dollars. $680,000, built entirely from the gap between what you could spend on housing and what you actually choose to spend. One decision, compounded for 30 years. Warren Buffett's $31,500 house is not a story about being cheap. It is a story about understanding what money is actually for. It is not for impressing your neighbors. It is not for signaling your success on social media. It is for buying freedom, time, independence, the ability to wake up every morning and do exactly what you love without answering to anyone. That is the life Warren Buffett has built. And every American, starting with their very next financial decision, can begin building the same thing. Let's bring it all together. 5 life-changing lessons from Warren Buffett's $31,500 house. Lesson 1. Avoid lifestyle inflation at every income level. Lesson 2. Understand the opportunity cost of every major purchase. Lesson 3. Use money to buy freedom, not to impress others. Lesson 4. Simplicity and integrity build more trust than any luxury. Lesson 5. Your daily habits, not your income, determine your wealth. These are not complicated ideas, but applied consistently, they build fortunes. Here is my challenge to every American watching this. Look at your biggest monthly expense right now. Ask yourself one question. Is this buying me freedom, or is this buying me the appearance of success? If it is the second one, consider redirecting some of that money toward investments. Drop a comment below and tell me what is the one lesson from this video that hit closest to home. I read every single comment and will personally reply. Every good financial decision you make today, your future self will thank you for. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is right now. If this video helped you understand Warren Buffett's mindset on money and life, hit like and share it with one American who needs to hear this. And if you want to know how Warren Buffett made $37 million per hour while sleeping, and the exact strategies he used, that video is right here. See you there.